Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. An important announcement. There will be a spotlight session on the first floor at 12 p.m. sharp. This spotlight session is a panel discussion titled Leading Sales Through the COVID-19 Crisis, Why the Industry's Historic Value Creation Model is Stumbling, and How to Reinvent It. So for all of you who are interested in this subject and panel discussion, kindly proceed to the spotlight session on the first floor, and this session will happen at 12 noon. With that, we move on to the second keynote address of the day, titled Retooling for the Next Normal. And it's my pleasure and honor to welcome and introduce Deepak Iyer, Managing Director, Mondelez International, India. Deepak, over to you.
Hello and good morning, everybody. Firstly, thank you, Economic Times, for having me speak at the summit. Navigating the new normal is indeed the most important thing businesses are trying to solve for, and hence there could not have been a better topic to anchor the summit. As a part of the summit, I'll be speaking on retooling for the new normal. Let me start with a caveat. We are still living the pandemic, and by no yardstick of imagination is it behind us. Hence, the shape of things to come, in other words, the new normal, is not yet fully known. So treat some of my thoughts of today on retooling for the new normal in that context. It is hence a good idea to stay flexible and undecided on some of the learnings to take from this pandemic. However, it's not a good idea to do nothing because it's an imperfect world and that we live in, and leaders need to navigate ambiguity. So as we think of retooling our business, it is best to anchor them on some new mega trends that are emerging, which will possibly define the new normal. These trends are emerging in different areas, and depending on your business, some of them are likely to apply to you. I'm going to talk about retooling in 6 broad areas. So let me start with the first area, and I will start with retooling for what your consumers or our consumers are going to look for in the near future. This is specifically in the context of FMCG. So consumers are going to be concerned about their families, their health, their safety, their hygiene, their immunity, and their financial stability. So while retooling, think of your portfolio. Do they offer safety or immunity? Then you're in a good place. But then start thinking about your communication to the consumers. Are you dialing up, for example, the immunity or hygiene offering of your products? If not, then this is the time to do so. For example, companies who are in the business of health drinks, like Bonvita, are communicating the immunity offering. They always had a strong, clinically proven immunity bundle, and spotting this trend, their communications are now calling out immunity. Now, another area to examine is what packs do you offer and at what pricing? If you want to solve for the financial concerns of consumers, then you will be better served if you offer low unit packs at say 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 5, 10 or 20. This way, you're helping consumers buy smaller portions and still stay with your brand versus moving to other brands. Equally, do you offer value for your bigger packs? That is there a compelling reason for consumers to trade up to your bigger packs? If not, this is the time to launch those packs. Overall, you'll be in a great position if you're offering straddle relevant price points from affordable to mainstream to premium. Yet another mega trend that's around us is consumers are likely to nest at home now more than in the past. So if you have a portfolio which is loaded towards out-of-home consumption, then while retooling, see if you can balance some of your portfolio a bit by focusing your innovations on products which can be consumed in-home, or find in-home consumption occasions for your existing products and brands. See, for example, Cadbury advanced the launch of its Cadbury cakes. And what's the reason? Just to rebalance the chocolate portfolio's out-of-home consumption, which was adversely impacted. So for another example with a different brand, let's say Oreo launched its Oreo recipes for making and baking at home. And this is leveraging the insight of nesting at home. One other mega trend that is there and has been around for a long time, this got accelerated again because of COVID, is that consumers are gravitating towards trusted brands and brands that espouse a cause or brands that espouse a purpose. This is the best time to double down your efforts on building trust with your consumers for your brands. This is the time to critically assess what does your brand stand for and talk to the consumers on the purpose it's espousing. For example, to applaud the selfless efforts of so many during COVID, like our healthcare workers, etc. The same brand launched a campaign to seek support of the masses for the local retailers during Diwali with its hyperlocal campaign just recently, 2-3 weeks back. While doing all of this, the only one caution to exercise is that the purpose should not be out of character for the brand. For example, both these examples that I gave for Cadbury is in the category kuch acha customers are important. 3, we will go where the shoppers go. Hence, you have to build multi-channel capability if your shoppers are going to multi-channels. You have to build this capability in your sales and distribution organization. It is not a question of this or that channel. It's a question about this and that channel. Now, moving on from shoppers and retail landscape, the third big mega trend to retool for is the increasingly digital world that we're going to be living in. Digital is touching every aspect of our life and our business at both the front end and the back end. It was a mega trend even before COVID, only that after COVID, it's got accelerated. At the front end of the business, you will need to build new age skills in e-commerce, direct to consumer, digital marketing, personalizing at scale, etc. Think of how you're going to use big data. How are you going to use machine learning, artificial intelligence, or say even augmented reality to impact areas like selling, POS design, demand forecasting, etc. Well, I won't have the time to spell out them today or spell out a lot of these examples today, but there are a lot of use cases out there to learn from and launch POCs. Likewise, at the back end of the business, you need to ask yourself a question. Have you commenced work in IIoT towards making your plants smart factories? While smart factories could look like a far cry for many FMCG companies today, but there are simple things you can do, like connecting different equipment on the production line. For example, one of our shift supervisors ran the production line from his laptop in his house when he could not cross a district border to come to the plant during lockdown. This was possible because we had started connecting equipment just as experiments on the line through IDF or Integrated Digital Factory a couple of years ago. Some other examples from our factories during COVID. We dismantled and assembled a production line using augmented reality since the OEM experts couldn't travel from Europe. This was unthinkable a year ago. We used AR for remote qualifications of our Cadbury cakes launch. In a normal situation, you have the R&D person, the marketing person, the business development person, all at the factory while qualifying a plant for a new launch. In this case, nobody could travel to the factory. Everything was done remote using AR. Now, these are some examples just to inspire you. These are not necessarily a comprehensive set of examples, but leave you with the thought that you need to retool for the increasingly digital world that you're going to be living in. Now, the fourth area to retool for is your financial discipline. I won't drain this one, but will leave you with just 2 thoughts. One, cash is king. A strong balance sheet is possibly more important today than a strong P&L. Make every penny your prisoner. Think about it. This is possibly the best time to drive strong productivity actions, take the tough calls which you have been struggling with all these times. So somewhere I think retooling your business for financial discipline is going to be super important, not just as you navigate this crisis, but also future ones. The fifth frame to consider while retooling is shaping your organization's culture and mindsets. This is a softer aspect. This is towards making your organization future fit. The right behaviors and mindset set apart winning teams who can ace disruptions. There are no 2 or 3 most important mindsets because it takes a lot these days to be a winning team. Calling out some mindsets that you can consider building in your teams and nurture them as a part of your culture for the long term. The mindset of delivering results despite crisis, because crises are not going to go away, but we still need results. Resilience during crisis. Resourcefulness, where ambition of your team is significantly higher than the resources they have. Agility versus perfection. Collaboration, where growth is a team sport. And ownership, the my business mindset. And the other critical one during crisis, which is empathy. Empathy with the people as you navigate crisis. These are some of the things you can reflect on. Possibly you have a lot of them already in your teams and your culture, but I think it's important to step back and reflect, saying what is it that I'm going to retool in my organization's mindsets, cultures, and capability. The sixth and the final consideration you might want to keep in mind while retooling is your business's capability to manage a crisis in itself. I recently, or not recently, maybe a couple of years ago, I heard a senior leader make a very nice statement. He said, the slowest pace of change you will ever see in your life is what you're seeing today. Much akin to that, COVID is not the last black swan event that we will see in our lifetimes. I'm sure there are more around the corner. Hence, planning for rainy days is something you might want to consider. So, for example, do you have actions listed out right now that you will do if your business tanks by 30%? It doesn't matter what reason it tanks for, you will still go ahead and solve it. But when it tanks, you need to take some actions. Whether it tanks by 30% or 50%, have you listed out or have you simulated that scenario and said, this is what I'll do, instead of when it tanks, I will think about what I will do. You can think about that even today. So planning for rainy days is a big one. Building a team with mindsets required to win in crisis that I just talked about. I was blessed to have a team like that in Mondelez, which helped me immensely to navigate the crisis. Another big learning for me in this entire domain of managing the crisis is don't let a crisis go waste. Think of it. Think of it as an excuse to push the difficult agenda in your organization that you always wanted to push, but you just could not because you had so much of resistance. Well, now is your time and you have an excuse. So that's all that I had to say today, folks. Let me conclude by trying to summarize. So to my mind, any disruption like this one will throw up winners and losers. So what will winners look like? And that's what I want to just articulate in one sentence. Winners will have strong consumer and customer connections, will have multi-channel availability, will work off trusted brands and a balanced portfolio, digitally savvy, will have a strong balance sheet and cash position, will have agile operating models, strong execution capabilities, and most importantly, will have a team with the right mindsets and capability, not just to manage, but to ace disruptions. Now, as ABBA, one of the yesteryear singers, our singing group, said it in one of their numbers, the winner takes it all and the loser standing small. So best wishes to all of you and your businesses to win. Thank you and stay safe.
Deepak Iyer for your keynote address titled Retooling for the Next Normal. Thank you for your insights, and I'm sure they're going to be beneficial to all of us at this FMCG Virtual Summit. We wish you and your organization the very best going forward. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we move on to the first poll question for the day. I request all of you to kindly minimize the player button so that you can view the poll question to the right of your screen. You will have 60 seconds to choose your option. Post the poll results being displayed. We will be back on the other side with the next live session. Happy polling.